Welcome back to SpectreVision. This week, Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street.
What the fuck are you talking about? You gonna do the interview with us here?
Yeah.
You can do that mockumentary. It'd be a sequel.
I was just wondering if you wanted me to introduce you. Like I'm the announcer.
Are you the announcer, though? You have a face for radio, but how's your voice?
You don't have the intro.
You're no Andy Richter.
Does the intro...
Or the guy that used to announce Conan.
Oh, Joel.
Conan O'Brien!
What did happen to him?
He just didn't want to move to L.A. Where he died.
He might have died.
I don't know.
Anyway,
That's
so...
something I could look up if I had a laptop.
Welcome to SpectreVision, the second edition on the Frog Brothers podcast.
What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today? Freddy Krueger!
In
But
what,
guys, we
in
just
what
talked
sense?
about Freddy Krueger like a
Well,
week
guys,
ago.
you just talked about Freddy Krueger a week ago. We got an official producer now. His name's Nick, but we call him Dick.
They've met me.
Liss.
That's original.
Like Walter Peck. So this week we're talking about my favorite scary movie from being a child that traumatized me and still traumatizes me to some day. You're not going to drive that turtle band in here. I'm going to shove it up your ass.
It wouldn't be the first time toy cars have gone up asses here.
I know, he's a big fan of Jackass.
True.
So,
Rest in peace, Ryan Dunn.
Nightmare on Elm Street, the first movie that really set off a chain reaction for some of the most amazing bullshit to come out of the 80s in horror movies. So what's your favorite part of this first flick?
Favorite part?
Yeah.
I don't know if I just want to say, this is my favorite part of that movie. But, I don't know. I like it. I like all the elements it has to it. There's actually, interesting enough, I read something recently that said it had a huge influence on the series Twin Peaks. Which you can see if you look for it hard enough.
The dreamscapes and all that, I could see that, the tone, a lot of the coloring and lighting.
The woman wrapped in plastic
Yeah.
is a whole thing in Nightmare on Elm Street when Tina shows up to school. Well, dead. Not actually, but in the dream for Nancy. So that's a pretty fun part. I always like that part. It's creepy as fuck. Like she's falling asleep at school and shit. I always like that part,
So if you haven't listened to the podcast, I'll tell the story again because this is a different segment. This is on our YouTube, right? Some people like the crazy wild videos. Some people just like to listen to bullshit. And we have bullshit on video, and we have bullshit on audio. And we have bullshit on tape, and we have bullshit on book tapes. But as a child, I think I saw the original Nightmare on Elm Street when I was 2 or 3 years old. And my dad used to get a kick out of torturing me with Freddy. It's kind of fucked up to think about it. And for the longest time, I had nightmares about Freddy. And I remember just being terrified of it. But seeing that first movie and seeing Johnny Depp's death in that movie was fucking traumatic. When he gets sucked down into that bed and the blood goes everywhere, I thought that was going to happen to me every night when I went to sleep for probably about a decade. And luckily I survived it. And Wes Craven based this movie off an article he read to some degree about people that could die in their dreams. And finding that out, it's even more fucked up that I survived all that because that shit was scary enough to me that I probably could have died in my sleep from it.
Yeah, the article that he's talking about was detailed, and it had about, it was about a teenage kid who was, he kept saying if he went to sleep he was going to die, and he was like drinking a bunch of coffee and shit, and apparently did die in his sleep. This is the article that he read. From what I understand, so.
Was it the theory that if you die in your dream, that you die in real life? That's not what you're talking about?
Not that concept, no. He referenced a specific article about it, but
I think that was his original origin for the actual plot of that. But he also, he always tells a story about as a young kid seeing a guy with a sweater like Freddy's walking up next to his, like in front of his building where he lived and like looking at him, creeping him out. So.
And he chose the red and green colors in that because it psychologically messes with you, right? The same way that yellow and blue combined next to each other like that will do that. Obviously, the red and green's a little bit better off that way, and people are like, well, that's Christmas colors. Kind of, sort of. You got that real murky green color that they use with that kind of like dried blood red. I think that's what makes it real scary. But I was talking about my childhood trauma, so I'm going to talk about that just a little bit more. And so there was an old abandoned house that we used to drive by close to our neighborhood, and it eventually got torn down and turned into a family video, which recently closed. So there's that. But there was this old abandoned house, and so if I was pissing my dad off when we were driving around in the car, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to drop you off at Freddy's house if you're not good." It was a way to psychologically manipulate me into behaving. Kind of dirty. And then the other time, my other favorite Freddy story about being tortured from it, and this is all important because for the longest time I wouldn't watch these movies. And it was kind of a face your fears, embrace your fears, and really appreciate what horror movies could be at that point when I got there. But the other thing was when cordless phones were a big thing in the late 80s, early 90s, right? We had the first base set you could talk to the phone with, right? So my dad was inside in the kitchen and did a Freddy impersonation when my mom gave me the phone or something and I was out in the backyard. And needless to say that I thought I was really talking to Freddy Krueger. So you can imagine how well I slept that week.
So,
Dad ever do anything like that to you?
oh, I'm gonna talk now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to the show.
I thought I was on the Justin show for a minute,
Yeah, I like
but
to talk.
it all started so long ago. I was 2 years old. Fucking A. Nightmare on Elm Street. I probably watched seriously for the first time and have real memories of for the first time in my early teens, maybe 14, 13, somewhere in there. I had seen clips of it and bits and pieces before, but it was never anything I hung on to until my teens. And it was one of the first slasher films, first horror franchises in general that I attached to. And quickly, back in the day when I had one of my first jobs, I bought the Nightmare on Elm Street DVD collection. So I have always been a big fan, and I really like this movie. If you watch the documentary about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, there's a lot of interesting history behind it, and New Line Cinema, and how it got made, Robert Englund's involvement, Wes Craven, the production of the movie. Obviously, if you know about it at all, you know that there's a rotating room for the scene where Tina's rolling around the fucking ceiling, and then where Johnny Depp's sucked into the bed and the blood shoots everywhere. It's another rotated room scene, but it's really interesting to dive deep into how this movie was made too.
Yeah, they had some pretty state-of-the-art stuff, right? That turning room was pretty amazing for what it did, the effects it provided, and then just the eerie tone that was able to give, right? I mean, those are some of the best death scenes ever, right? And when you look at it, there's, 3 major death scenes and a 4th questionable one that he likes to argue about, but we won't get into that now because we've talked about it. But,
We'll sum it up for people who didn't watch.
You want to include Sydney's mom in...
Sydney's mom?
Yes. You want to include Sydney's mom from Scream?
Yes.
And Scream's death count?
I do.
Because it's completely off screen. There's not even, I don't think a person even cast as her mom. So, no. That's not a death scene in that movie.
I'm not talking about Scream. I'm talking
But you
about
just said
Nightmare on
yes
Elm
you would, and I was using it as a comparison is my point. Even the fact that they're both Wes Craven movies. And they're the mother characters. Fuck you, I win.
No, because you actually see Freddy take Nancy's mom into the bed with her. And she just disappears and never comes back.
She's back at the end of the movie.
Well, everyone's back at the end of the movie that we saw die, so that's
a dream.
the whole
Yeah, but
other
I think
thing
that's
with
what
this.
that's what it looked like to me, is he's not killing her mom. That's a dream.
So Nancy sees that as a dream.
I don't know. I guess that is kind of unclear, and I'll have to watch it again to really do it, but,
Tell us what you think in the comments section, because this is a hotly debated topic. If this was a real glove, I still wouldn't stab him, because he's my brother.
Do you have anything to say?
Yeah,
watch
Nick's
this like a dirty cuck?
Nick's over there producing, and he's basically wearing sweatpants and
Producing means...
touching his trouser snake.
Yeah.
Dude, I just discovered sweatpants for work. Because I drive around in my car. It really wears your jeans out, man. If you get these sweatpants, it's comfortable and warm. And it shows off your package.
So Nick's out there trying to pick up women while he's delivering at work.
Don't say too much.
What? Women love gray sweat season.
Apparently that's a new.
That's a whole thing.
That's a new fetish, I guess.
That's not a new fetish, Nick. You're just learning about it because you just learned about sweatpants.
No, it's newly trending
Newly open.
on social media.
Maybe this year, but this has been going around for at least a half a decade. It's been a thing. Maybe even longer. Chime in if you like men in sweatpants. We might need to edit that out.
I'm going to start wearing sweatpants on the SpectreVision so you can all see my package, and I'm going to wear it without underwear. Oh, fuck it. I'm going to wear children's. They're going to be fucking like shorts on me. It's going to be like, does that man have 3 legs?
You can milk anything with nipples.
Like Batman and Batman Forever, you can milk him.
Just ask Joel Schumacher. He drank bat's milk on set.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk shit on Joel Schumacher here.
I think they look like a hot dog that's been on the grill too long.
Well, you know how thin your sack skin is.
Yeah, but like his pants clearly didn't burn off, or his sweater because he's still kind of wearing them.
But when he rips his shirt off and Freddy's dead or whatever.
Yeah, but he's a dream monster, dude. I don't fucking make the rules, man.
The clothes are a manifestation.
Also, they're written by several different people. There's no consistency, much like other franchises, and you can point out several different inconsistencies within the films themselves that invalidate most points within the films.
That's the beauty of
Every film.
horror.
Yeah.
Specifically the horror genre, though.
But
It's shitty.
you suspend your belief in some of this bullshit to enjoy watching movies. Life lessons. The more you know.
Fake electronic light shows.
You gotta do two in the paint, one in the stink.
What about the
You can do the shocker, and then you can do the spocker. Live long and prosper, baby.
what about the bowling ball grip?